2 days ago, the governor of Colorado had an in-person meeting with President Trump. Now, are we allowed to point out that that meeting was more than 10 miles from home? But that aside, during the meeting, President Trump asked about what the current reopening of Colorado looks like. Governor Polis responded with saying, "Most businesses in Colorado are open. Pretty much everything except those social businesses like bars and nightclubs. A few places have restaurants open, and we're working on the rest soon. Offices, manufacturing, and salons, we're doing it in a safe way. All the stores are back. People are being responsible. And restaurants, hopefully in May. We're really respecting the communities in our state and really respecting what the communities decide." What? Most businesses in Colorado are open and you're respecting communities and letting communities decide? On May 1st, just 2 weeks ago, Governor Polis introduced his Safer at Home order. While we were excited to get back to work and start bringing our state back to life, what we were really given was just an inch on a very tight set of rules. Gyms are still closed. Shopping malls, pools, rec centers, movie theaters, churches, parks, schools, sports, hotels, and pretty much all of our tourism industry still closed. Then there are the thousands of self-employed men and women that rely on Colorado's booming wedding industry who aren't bringing in any income at all. Wedding venues, resorts, spas, photographers, planners, florists, musicians, beauty professionals, caterers, and bakeries. And let's not forget that our hospitals are cutting hours and staff, and the 2,000-bed makeshift hospital being built in the convention center isn't even close to being needed. But since Governor Polis mentioned restaurants specifically, let's talk about that for a minute. He said there are a few that are open, but did he forget to add that this is until we close them down for violating my executive orders? He looked directly at the president and said, "A few places have restaurants open, but the real situation is that restaurants and bars in Colorado have been limping along limited to takeout and delivery services since March 19th. He did mention that he'll be discussing the next steps for restaurants on May 25th, and that officials will issue guidance to restaurants on how to reopen safely." So not only are our restaurants not open or even allowed to open right now, earlier in May, 2 cease and desist orders were sent to 2 separate restaurants in El Paso County who had social distancing plans in place so they could reinstate the crucial profit-building aspect of their business of dine-in service, and they were shut down. Then, most recently, when CNC Coffee Kitchen opened for Mother's Day, shortly thereafter, Polis issued a public statement saying that CNC presents an immediate health hazard, and then he suspended their business license until it no longer creates a threat to public health, likely for at least 30 days. So no, Mr. President, if you want to hear it straight from Coloradans, pretty much everything is not open. It is not being left up to the different communities to decide, and our freedom to make these decisions is not being respected. Meanwhile, our Democrat majority legislature have extended their days off while they still collect a paycheck. Our state of emergency has been extended again for another 30 days. Their idea of fixing things is to keep proposing monumental spending, and at the same time, anyone who defies the lengthy executive stay-at-home orders or the safer-at-home orders or the executive orders attached to whatever phase of reopening we're in that have been laid out, they run the risk of having the doors of their business shut indefinitely. That is, if they don't end up closing first due to financial ruin. So while we appreciate the time that was taken by our president to sit down and gather information about what was happening in Colorado, what we don't appreciate is having to sit at home and listen to our leadership imply that everything is great. Our voices were not accurately represented, and we were blatantly left out of this conversation. Mr. President, if you had asked the same question about what the reopening of Colorado looks like directly to the people of our communities, we would tell you first that we know it and you know it. We do not want additional bailouts. We feel the immense weight of every new stimulus bill and the massive levels of debt being added on to the already astronomical amount that has been piled onto future generations to pay off. When, as able-bodied people, we are just waiting to get back to creating revenue for our state the way we wake up and do every single day. We'd tell you that government support or income and more free stuff is not the solution we're looking for. We want to get back to work. We did our part to slow the spread and flatten the curve because we love the citizens of our state and country and understood the need for more information and data. Now that we have it, we're ready to do our part in making sure our friends, neighbors, communities, and cities are able to rebuild our economy. And the best way that we do that is free from government control, protected by our Constitution. Thank you.